A couple weeks ago, I did my first sort of like I was doing some post production work, and I had two clients who needed edits on a project and deliverables, and I was able to make changes to the cut and send 4K deliverables from a mountain. So that's pretty fun. But yeah, for years I've been in post production since 2006, and for years I've been thinking about remote workflow and proxy workflows, and when is it going to become a little bit, when we're going to hit like that sort of tipping point where it's a workable way to work. And I mean, what I've noticed is a convergence of a few things, right? My I have a I have three Macs. I have a laptop. I have a Mac M2 Pro, Mac Mini, my little trailer over here, my little RV, and I have an M2 Ultra Studio at home. None of them take a lot of wattage. Like the new M processors from Apple, they're just really efficient. They don't really get hot. It's not like a big old Intel machine. So, and I've built Hackintoshes, and I've had Macs for almost 20 years. So the M processors are just so efficient. I measure all the wattage out here, and I have an M2 Pro Mac Mini running when I'm editing in my little sort of remote edit bay with speakers and audio interface, and just one 4K monitor. I'm going to add a second one, and like a little external 4 terabyte drive, and that whole setup I think was only running 150 watts in real time. Starlink 120. So, and I don't need to run an air conditioner because the reason I'm out here in Lake George, Colorado. It's 20 degrees cooler than South Denver. So if it's 90, 95 at home, it's 75 out here. And I'm not gonna get up and tilt the camera, but I've got like snow-capped mountains on a lake over there. It's pretty great. So, yeah. So remote work has been, I think, a combination of the batteries have gotten a lot better, solar is cheaper and better, the processors take a lot less wattage, and of course remote internet. So my Starlink, I'm getting 400 megs down, and 30 megabits up, I think it is. So it's pretty incredible. And the post-production remote workflow, maybe I should do a whole new video about that. But the post-production remote workflow is Blackmagic has made huge advancements, kind of finally has a really simple plug-and-play, affordable proxy workflow, automated. And it's still a little bit shaky. I had a little problem with it out here yesterday, but I had Parsec on my machine, so I could go over Starlink and remote into my computer at home in my studio and kind of rebuild a new Resolve project, and then it did sync properly over to my machine here at the lake. But I think the gist is that proxy workflows conserve the real. They help accommodate the real problem in video production, which is not data size. I mean, that could be a challenge, like how many terabytes of 4K, 8K, 12-bit, whatever, that can add up. But it's the moving of data. It's the real-time access to a stream of video over what codec at what color space, etc. So you can do different types of work, up to and including finishing work, on a color-accurate monitor. But anyhow, I've been testing Blackmagic Cloud, and it's a lot like what I've been trying to do manually with Adobe for years, and it just hasn't really worked very well. But Blackmagic is working quite well, and so if you have an automated way to take these, high resolution, high bit depth, robust video codecs and resolutions and frame rates, and move proxies automatically synced up to a similar project or a collaborative project, it really opens the floodgates. I mean, even with now Starlink is not even the bottleneck. I mean, there's so much bandwidth that I can download, like 300 or 400 megs a second or whatever it is. So, no, it's not. Maybe it's megabits. I don't know. But anyhow, that's working. And the wind's kicking up. I wonder if anybody can hear me. No one's listening. Doesn't matter. Okay, so this. I'm not sure if this worked on LinkedIn, to be honest with you. I can't see any. Oh wait, here we go. Sorry, Alan. I had a comment here on YouTube. if you keep talking, we can confirm there's no dropouts. Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate that. How many watts, you're asking, is the draw? My M2 Pro Mac Mini draws. Okay, and I tried rendering something, right, to really kind of get it going. My M2 Pro Mac Mini with pretty basic speakers, but near field monitor speakers that are, sort of like mid-range speakers, and a real basic this audio interface is what I was running in there. Tried it out here, didn't need it today, but this is a real cheap audio interface, $70. So running that off the Mac Mini and a 4K LG monitor, but like one of the plasticky ones, not like my Apple Display at home or something, because I'm out here in the woods. I think the total wattage, it was about 150 watts. Now, I only tested it at home at one time, and I don't know if my Goal Zero Yeti 1500X 1800 watt hour battery bank that I was using is the most reliable wattage thing. I should probably get a meter, but anecdotally, yesterday there was some cloud cover out here, and I was running that machine, a refrigerator freezer, which I think takes 60 watts, and Starlink, which I think was about 120, and I only use half the battery. So, and I have a 4Runner with a charger in the back that I can run 400 watts out of that and charge it back up, but I haven't had to. So yeah, I think the gist of what I would say. Thanks, Alan. Appreciate that for monitoring for dropouts. I think the gist of it is it's more doable than I think. I was really surprised by the workstation not taking up any power. And, again, it's an M2 Pro Mac Mini. But these days, most post-production work, you can do most post-production work on an M2 MacBook Air when it comes to offline editing, or what we used to call offline editing. I guess we still have to do it. But finishing work, I'm not sure. I don't know if I would bring my M2 Ultra Mac Studio out here because of the power draw and because of the lighting conditions, and the audio is okay in my little trailer, but I wouldn't do finishing work. But I did corporate level finishing work a couple weeks ago, because I had already done most of it at home, and I just had to tweak a few things and deliver masters over Starlink, which I was able to do. Which is great. I don't know about y'all, but I just want to get out of the house. So if I can be in my, I live in Colorado, so if I can be in places like this and have access to everything I need, including over Parsec to get back to my workstation at home, if I even need something off my, Synology 30 terabyte NAS in my studio, it's kind of a piece of cake. Right now I'm shooting on a Canon XF705. Got this audio running into that camera. That's another thing, right? You can try to redistribute the load, right? Whether it's the power draw or in this case, running this microphone. I have a very basic. I didn't bring my really nice CalDigit dock, which is I think 260 watts or something. That thing is a power hog. It's crazy, but you can plug in 40 things. You can charge a laptop off it, and it's totally overkill. If I tried to run that out here, I think I'd have a problem. So instead, I brought this tiny little, I think that's a OWC dock, but dock is a very charitable term here. Bus powered, off the USB-C, and I'm running a Camlink 4K encoder capture device, which is really cheap, but low power. And so I'm running 4K out of my very nice, originally $7,000 camera with good audio preamps, right? A really great battery to last forever, great internal codecs, every thrifty, H.265, 4K, whatever. But I'm really just outputting 1080 HD out of that into a little tiny encoder, into a very tiny little dock, into this M2 MacBook Air. But when I tried to run the audio into that same little mini dock, it actually couldn't handle it. It couldn't handle a USB, because this mic is USB or XLR. It couldn't handle the XLR. I'm sorry, it couldn't handle the USB into this little mini dock at the same time as it would do a little capture card for the camera. So that didn't work. So I ended up running this XLR out of this camera instead. Out of this microphone directly into the camera. So therefore, I'm sort of offloading the power. There's phantom power into this from the camera, There's audio preamps in the camera. So now a lot of the power usage of what I'm doing out here as far as the audio and video is in my Canon machine. So, if you work in audio and video for a while, you start to learn how to play all those kind of games. And when it comes to storage, that's the other sort of like kicker, right? Would I consider putting like any kind of storage array or something in my teardrop camper? The answer to that is no. No, I would not. I should probably pan over there and show you that in a second. Alan, if you're still here and you want to see it, let me know. I'll pan over and show you my little solar array and my little teardrop. Yeah. Oh, I got some little thumbs up on something. Thank you. So a few people are watching. So we're just talking about remote work, remote video work, remote post-production, remote consulting, and I've been just testing things for years, but I'm pretty excited that a proxy-based workflow, especially with Blackmagic Cloud, for post-production, connected from my studio at home to my RV. Hey Tom, what's up, man? Is working pretty well, and the combination of easily accessible lithium 2300 watt-hour batteries. The inverter in my Yeti 1500X does like 2300 watts or 3000 watts. So I could run an air conditioner, which would be silly. I don't need to do that. That's why I'm in the mountains. It's 20 degrees cooler out here. It's gorgeous. It's like, I'm chilly. I might need to put on a hoodie out here. It's like 70. Anyhow, I'm, it's good to hear from you, Tom. Haven't heard from you in a long time. I am just kicking the tires on all this stuff. I do have 520 watts of solar total, and I think I've noticed that I don't even need it. And I've been thinking about putting a more permanent solar installation in parallel or series, because the panels are getting really cheap and they're getting really good. But I have portable ones that you can point to the sun a little easier, so I find that I can point 320 watts more effectively than like I have one on top of my car. And, it's only when the sun's directly overhead that it really kind of works well. So I have 520 watts. I'm only using 320 today, and it's cloudy, and I'm getting plenty of power. When I went to bed last night, I still had only half the battery was dead. Hey, well, Tom, you're in Florida. What are you doing in Florida, man? Still working on apps? Still doing app development? And bringing me back to like living in New York, Tom. Anyway, I just wanted to test all this stuff, so I might just turn this off if anybody cares. Maybe I should actually come up with some programming and say something that is useful now that I know it works. So I appreciate it. Alan, drop a comment in there if you have any more questions about what we were talking about, because that was pretty fun. And thanks for checking that. It was 30 frames. That's kind of interesting, right? I mean, 30 frames of HD streamed over Starlink from the middle of nowhere. That's pretty good. But I will say one other thing, because I'm just constantly tinkering with this stuff, which is I have thought that automating the shift from my home studio into this, that's the real challenge, right? If I can just come out to my remote studio, my trailer, and I can have everything really ready to go, and I can get just get in the car, right? And so I've put some duplicate things in, right? So even if I have too many USB things, right? I have 2 sets of speakers now, some in my studio, some in the trailer, so I don't have to move that. I finally rigged up the monitor on a nice little arm yesterday, and that's working well. And I have to get one of those Lagoon tables with a nicer piece of wood, because I keep kind of having to remake a desk in there. But the more automation, I think it'll speed it up and make it so I can hop in the car and get out to places and use stuff better. Also, when the weather isn't cooperating, it's not great to have portable battery banks, even if it's a nice lithium like my Yeti 1500X that I'm using right now. It's not great. Thanks, Tom. Stream looks good. Cool. I think ideally, I've done lots of research on batteries and solar, portable batteries, battery installations. Excuse me. It feels like the real legacy thinking is around 12-volt lead acid batteries. These days, a lot of people are getting lithium batteries, but they're still getting 12 volt. You can make a 48 volt. Watt hours is just a relationship between. Okay, thanks, Alan. Yeah, so you got to run light compression artifacts and the grass blowing right behind you. Cool. I'm okay with that. Don't need the grass to be flowy. That'll be next level. Maybe I should though. Maybe I should get like my FX6 out here and like a really good encoder and see if I can get like a really nice picture. Do a little grip. Thanks, man. I really appreciate you coming and checking out the stream. Send me a message if you ever want to do the topic, or whatever. What else was I going to say? So I'm thinking about 48 volt. It looks to me that the best thing for my use, if I really want to have an off-grid workstation class computer with Starlink and make sure that it runs for days even if it's raining and I can't get any sun, looks to me like, given the cost benefit, a 400 amp hour lithium 48 volt would be pretty killer. A lot of people build things like that so they can run like an AC for a few days in an RV. I don't want to do that. It's like I'm parking in the desert to work, because I live in Denver. Just come to the mountains. It's nice and cool. There's no obstructions here for the satellite. There's just nothing. So that's what I would like to do next, I think, is a 400 amp hour lithium 48 volt system, because that will allow, with a controller. So it's the way you have solar, you have panels, right? And they have voltage and amperage that is either in series or in parallel, and that feeds into a controller, which then may or may not have fuses and can take a certain number of amps or amps and volts, which ends up being watts, right? And so the nicer controllers can handle 60 amps, for example, which is just like a lot of power. But a 48 volt system will have like smaller wires. Like when you have 12 volt batteries, you just have more amps. Amps are they melt the wire, right? You need like big fat wire to move to more amps. And if you want the same number of watts at 12 volts, you have more amps. So it's better to have little wires, higher voltage, lower amps, and get the same wattage. So, but apparently that's kind of like a thinking change. So I understand from in the solar community. So anyway, I'm done talking about all that. I can't believe I had some engagement at all. And I think I might come up with a topic and try to actually do this properly. A little warning maybe. Okay, I'm going to turn it off. Thanks again. I really appreciate it. Thanks for watching and, hanging. See y'all.